I'm Scott Ott, and this is Bill Whittle Now. Well, Bill, the president has done it. Actually, what he's done is not done it. Last night, President Trump, recording or going live from the Oval Office, spoke to the American people about the necessity of border security and how that interplays with his coming to loggerheads with the Democrats over the federal budget. And many people expected that the president was going to announce that he had some sort of executive authority to go ahead and build that wall that he promised so much during the 2016 campaign. And Bill, there are other things that I want to get into on this one, but just off the top, does it surprise you that the president didn't decide to wield his pen, as President Obama used to say, and get done what we don't have time to wait for anymore?
Well, as we discussed many times before, Scott, the time to get this thing financed and started at least was, on January 21st of 2017. I mean, it should have been the second day in office. I'm needless to say disappointed about it, but I can't say I'm terribly surprised. I mean, obviously, the entire first 2 years of Donald Trump's term under that Congress, he obviously must have made attempts to do something about it and was running into resistance. Certainly the resistance is going to be considerably stiffer now, if not impossible to overcome. But he's going to have to be careful here, I think, because this was not a satellite promise. This was pretty much the core entire campaign. I'm of mixed feelings about this. I think, about what I'm about to say. On one hand, I think I genuinely think this is a national security issue. I genuinely think there's a strong case to be made for him using commander-in-chief powers. But I have to say, despite the fact that I want this border secured, I am relieved that it's not just done by executive order. I'm so sick of that. I think the ability to simply have the president, no matter who he is, simply dictate law is more of a threat than an unsecured southern border.
Well, Bill, the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, made about a 5-minute address standing side by side awkwardly at one podium right after the president's speech from the Oval Office, which lasted less than 10 minutes. So the whole debate took only about 15 minutes. And both sides said that they're all for border security. And in fact, President Trump basically said that Democrats wanted border security of this order until I became president of the United States. And the Democrats were saying, well, the only barrier to good border security is the fact that President Trump is holding the budget hostage. And President Trump said it's the Democrats that are holding the budget hostage because they don't want good border security. In essence, they were both saying, we all agree on the foundational principles, but the president took it a step further. Not only did he not wield his executive pen, he also pointed out that the people that are hardest hit by this failure at the border are blacks and Latinos, women and children, and he chronicled the violent crimes that happened to women and children and the pain of job loss for blacks and Latinos. He actually said, I agreed with the Democrats to build a steel fence, in essence. He didn't use the word fence, instead of a concrete wall. And all throughout the speech, it seemed like President Trump was intentionally reaching out to the Democratic base and to the Democrats themselves, basically saying, I've gone the extra mile here. A 45-minute meeting, as he said, could solve this all. And he calls them to the White House for our Wednesday meeting.
Hopefully the cameras will be on like last time, although that means that nothing will happen. Boy, a lot to unpack there, Scott. First of all, you said that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were standing there awkwardly. I really can't imagine them in any other position, to be honest with you. It's just, I can never imagine Chuck Schumer standing anywhere elegantly or forcefully or manfully or with dignity. But to get on to the serious issues, I have said, and I continue to say, and I continue to believe that the wall is not the optimum solution. The optimum solution for this problem is to make Mexico the kind of place that people are not desperate to escape from. And that's a long-term process. What's an immediate process is a secure border. I just need to keep coming back to it because it's the entire basis of all of the argument as I see it. Donald Trump said he was going to build a wall because the Democrats wouldn't let us have a border. And for the Democrats to say, oh, we're all about border security. Well, you're not the party of you are the party, rather, of the whole idea of sanctuary states. So um, what possible justification can you have for that statement? Gavin Newsom has declared California a sanctuary state. That means, technically speaking, I suppose, he considers the section of border between California and Mexico, which is significant, is essentially not part of the United States. He's essentially basically saying if you can climb over, this barbed wire or just walk across the desert, once you get here, you're home free. These are the kind of problems that have to be solved. And I would much prefer, forget the cost, from a purely aesthetic standpoint and from a moral standpoint, I would be much happier without a wall if we enforced the border. If we enforced the border the way we have through most of our history, then the wall would be unnecessary. And certainly enforcing the border is much less expensive and time consuming than building a wall. So if I'm Donald Trump, what I do now is I basically turn the Democrats' own words against them and say, okay, look, we've been arguing about a wall. You've just told the American people that you're all in favor of border security. So now, as president, I am going to step up border security. And since the immigration service is so badly overworked and so on, I'm going to use National Guard units until we can get those people staffed up to the level that they need to be staffed up. And I would dare them to keep their word about border security. I don't want to live in a country behind a wall, but I understand that there's an enormous difference between a wall that's designed to keep people out versus a wall that's designed to keep people in. And there's no question that a wall would be effective. The question is it necessary? And prior to where we find ourselves today, it seemed like the answer was yes, it's necessary. It's necessary because it's a permanent structure and it's not subject to the vicissitudes of Congress or who's the president and so on. But when you get right down to it, the ultimate issue is, are we able to secure the southern border and determine who comes into this country and who doesn't come into this country based on a legal basis? You don't need a wall for that, but given the progressives' attitude on this, it seemed like the only solution. Trying to get the solution in place was difficult from day one and looks exceedingly difficult now that elections matter.
Well, what you're saying would fly in the face of everything that Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi said, because they were not
God,
opposed.
then I know for a certain fact that I'm on target.
No. What I'm saying is they would disagree that that's the issue, because they're saying we care about border security too. And Chuck Schumer actually positively said that the only difference is a difference of mechanism, essentially, how we accomplish this. President Trump himself said, we don't build walls because we hate the people on the outside. We build walls because we love the people on the inside.
That's the
New York Times headline, Bill. Yeah, it's an awesome headline. And I want to use that to direct your attention to a particular way that President Trump made this speech. Because the headline on the New York Times that I clicked to this morning immediately started talking about all the falsehoods that the president stated during his speech. However, what was striking, if you listen to the whole speech, was how much he reached out, how aggressive he was at basically saying, we have common values, we all care about our loved ones, nobody wants to see anybody get hurt, nobody hates the people from Mexico. In fact, the reason why they're coming here is because we have a strong economy, but we're all affected negatively by $500 billion a year spent trying to enforce drug laws, the cost of illegal drugs flooding into this country. We're hurt by gangs, we're hurt by violent criminals, we're hurt by the loss of jobs. And that tone sounds to me like some speeches I heard early in the Trump presidency when we thought that maybe somebody like Jared Kushner was writing them. Is he taking the right tone here, or should he just give up on this and just go all scorched earth on the Democrats?
Well, I don't know if going scorched earth is going to do any good at this point. The time to go scorched earth was 2 years ago, when it didn't matter whether we went scorched earth or not, but we're not 2 years ago, we're in the present. This is the time when Donald Trump has superb negotiating instincts, and he has superb unmatched ability to weather criticism. And so if it were me, and I had said, and I'd heard Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi said, we're just as much in favor of border security as the Republicans are, I would have said, with all due respect, Madam Speaker, that's a lie. You're lying. And everybody knows you're lying. You're the party of sanctuary states. You're the party of low border security. You're the party that under Barack Obama told immigration authorities that they could not do their job. Honest to God, kept them indoors so that they couldn't enforce this border. That wasn't Republicans that did that, that was Democrats. Now, if you've changed your mind, not just your rhetoric, but if you've actually changed your mind, I am more than happy to reach out to you. We can put this whole idea of a wall away so long as we have a secure southern border. So now it's time, Chuck and Nancy, to put your money where your mouth is. We heard you say that you're in favor of border security, and we've heard you say this many times. So presumably, you'll be more than willing to grant the budget increases that I'm going to request to make the southern border secure through massive strengthening of our border patrol, through aerial surveillance, thermal visions, all this, whatever it takes. It's considerably cheaper than a wall. Okay, so let's get started. And make them say on camera, yes, we agree, it's time to secure the southern border, because they don't want to secure the southern border, because if you secure the southern border, then you don't get, basically, then you don't get Mexicans coming into America to do the jobs that Americans won't do, and that's vote for Democrats. So you've got to find a way to make them make a statement that is absolutely clear, and when they start backing up on it, because they will, then you simply have to go directly to the American people, as you've done before and very effectively, Mr. Trump, and say, I asked them a question. They said they answered honestly. You heard them answer honestly. I heard them. We all heard them. They're not doing what they said they would do. So they're lying. And they're telling you a lie because they want that border to not be secure. Now, I don't know what other conclusion to draw from it, my fellow Americans, but clearly, this is what's happening. There's your evidence right in front of your own eyes.
I'm probably misusing this term, but you in Hollywood can straighten me out. It occurs to me that we might see the wall as what they used to call in movies as a MacGuffin. It's basically this object that is being pursued, but it's not what the story is really about.
Right.
And the question is, though, if the wall is Donald Trump's MacGuffin, will his supporters get it when they get what they say they ultimately want, which is a secure border with or without the wall?
Turns out how the movie ends, right? For instance, probably the greatest MacGuffin, or one of the greatest MacGuffins, is the Maltese Falcon. It's the whole movie's about finding this Maltese Falcon statue, but the falcon itself has no meaning. The story is in the getting there. So, if it turns out that Donald Trump is going to use this wall as a bargaining chip, and basically say, "All right, I'll give you a wall in exchange for the border," now we've got two possible outcomes. Let's just assume for a moment that we go down that wall, that road. Outcome number one is that we force the Democrats, or they have finally come to their senses, or they understand they're going to lose this fight because of the polling, whatever reason, that the Democrats actually do step up, and we see our border security increased significantly, enormously. And when I say significantly and enormously, I mean I want to see at the very least, I want to see a 90% reduction in illegal crossings, and I'd like to see a 100% reduction in them. So if the movie ends with the Democrats basically saying, well, it's either the wall or the border, we painted ourselves into a corner, can't very well say we want open borders, because that would be telling the truth to the American people. And if we ever told the truth to the American people, then we'd never get elected again. So that's one ending. The other ending is Donald Trump agrees to give up the wall in exchange for the border promises. And then the Democrats drag their feet, and the Democrats hem and haw, and they go back to business as usual, and they keep stalling, and they keep waiting for the day that never comes. And Donald Trump is essentially caught in a bind where they're basically saying, well, we're going just as fast as we can, which makes me realize, in retrospect, that what Donald Trump actually needed to do, or needs to do, can do tomorrow if he wants to, if he can pull it off, is to have himself on camera with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer saying, border security is going to be increased starting now. We expect to be fully staffed by this date. And if we're not fully staffed by this date, and when I say fully staffed, I mean staffed to the degree that whatever it takes, if it takes National Guard units, if it takes Army units, it's an invasion. It's an armed invasion. These people are coming across the border with weapons. So you basically say, if we don't have the Border Patrol and staff to the degree they want to, and with the equipment and money that they need to do this job, if we don't have it by this date, then I'm going to assume that you are just plain lying to the American people. I'm ready to go. Let's go. At this point, it's starting to look like the best possible case. I know a lot of people want a wall. I want a wall, but what I really want, and my hope would be that people who are 100% on the wall as an idea understand that the wall is a metaphor for a secure border. You can have a wall, and if you don't enforce border security, people will come over the wall or they'll go under the wall. The wall helps to prevent, in a big way, helps to prevent these unwanted aggressions. But a wall without the will to defend the border is useless, and the will to defend the border doesn't require a wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, 5 days a week, Bill Whittle brings his cogent insight into the news of the day, and we have these conversations so that people around the world can not only hear how you think, but can hear it in a way that connects with them, that makes them want to share it. And that is happening every day. More people become members at BillWhittle.com because they want to support this enterprise. They want to help be citizen producers of these little projects that have now been seen by millions of people around the world. We appreciate those members who went to BillWhittle.com and clicked that Become a Member link, and those people who re-up that commitment literally on a daily basis. If you'd like to become one of them, you know what to do. So for Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making this possible.